a coffee today with Paula Harris from United for Mission. She was formerly a primary school teacher and now is working in Brazil with young offenders. So Paula, it's great to be having a chat with you this morning.
Good to be here.
Paula, give us a little bit of background to you. Where are you from and what's really inspired you in your life?
I'm from Cardiff, only child, and was sent to Sunday school from a young age. And then when I was about 18, I was going clubbing, going out, trying to make myself happy, and nothing I was doing was making me happy. I was drinking, stopped drinking after a while and thought, no, don't need the drink, but I just need to just go out dancing. And from about the age of 18, a number of things went wrong, and I just had a nagging feeling for a while, go back to church, go back to church, go back to church. And in this miserable state, I went back to church and straight away just realised I need Jesus. So for about 3 months I was praying to be saved because I realised I can't do anything. I need Jesus in my life to not be so miserable and to do the right things. But for those 3 months I was thinking I need to be a better person, and everything I did was failing. And then one day I was working and I started attending a Christian Union meeting in the place I was working. And I said to a lady at this union meeting, I said, how good do I have to be for Jesus to accept me? Because I've been praying and I'm not reaching the mark. And she said, you don't have to be good. Jesus will accept you as you are. And I realised I'm saved. He's already saved me. He's changed my life. And I went back to my office with a sense of real peace. So that was, I think, when I was 18, 19, I was baptised. And from then, God just completely changed my life. I'd had no real connection with children. Like I said, no brothers and sisters, just my cousins of a similar age. But gradually over time, he gave me an interest in working with children. I started working after a while in a secondary school with children with behaviour problems, and I loved working with them. Then I did teacher training, became a primary school teacher, moved up here to Birmingham, and enjoyed half of that time, endured the rest of it. Some of it it was quite a struggle, but then went to Bible college and moved out to Brazil, so that's in a nutshell. But a couple of books which were really influential: Run Baby Run by Nicky Cruz, about his involvement with, David Wilkinson's involvement with Nicky Cruz when he was leader of the gangs in New York, and the book by George Muller about the orphanages. And they just gave me a real heart for kids who've got problems. And I just remember thinking, Nicky Cruz, I would love to work with kids like him, which for me, I consider myself a bit of a wimp. But yeah, I just was fascinated by that. So
did it scare you? Did you think,
no,
because that's quite tough stuff, some of the things they were doing, wasn't it? Did you think, I can't do that? Or did you think, let me get out there?
No, I thought, let me get out there. I had no idea, because if anybody started fighting with me, I wouldn't fight back. So yeah, it obviously God, because put that there.
So you looked for a mission organisation that was doing street work, or how did it come about that you found the job, if you like?
Okay, I had a desire to go to Brazil, always South America. First of all, it was Colombia, but then it changed to Brazil. And where that came from, I don't know, just Brazil sort of appeared there. And street children, and again, apart from the Nicky Cruz story, he wasn't a street child, but I just had an interest, had no idea what it meant. And in 2003, I was reading a Tear Fund magazine, and it had lots of different countries, and you can pray, you can give, or you can go. And I thought, I want to go. So looked at Brazil, but Brazil was just they were building things, and I thought, that's not really what I want to do. So I went to India, went to Calcutta for a month, loved that. And then the next year I had the opportunity to go to Brazil, not with Tear Fund this time, but with UFM. I'd never heard of them, but went on a summer team, absolutely loved it. I worked with ARCA, which was my previous project, on the streets with Lynn McLeavy, who was working with ARCA, and I just thought, I love this. And I just finished my teaching degree as well, didn't have a job, but 2004, sat on the pavement with these kids in Belém in Brazil. I thought, this is what I want to do. So I contacted UFM, had an interview when I got back, and they said, pray about it. Well, I didn't pray for long. I went back and I said, I want to apply. So I think I became a member of UFM in 2006. In 2005, I moved to Monaghan, well, not to Monaghan, but to Birmingham and then to Monaghan to teach. And then after that, went to Bible college and out to Brazil. So there was quite a long period, but it was all a time of real prayer, real confirmation.
How do you feel, Paula, when you're currently working with young offenders in Brazil? How do you feel when you walk into that prison and you see these kids? What does that do for you?
Excitement, because I just think quite a lot of the time I will see the same kids, and I love standing at the prison cell or in a room. Sometimes we can have them in a room, and just getting that relationship with them, the banter, and just sharing the gospel. So every week we have a specific Bible study. We go there, we can reach, depending on how many boys or girls are in their prison cells, I could probably reach in that one session up to about 15 kids, maybe 20 kids, just myself, and then there's my colleagues as well. So it's brilliant just to be able to show these kids, this is not, you don't have to carry on like this, there is a different way. And I just feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. I get so much satisfaction out of it, but also just the rapport with the kids. I love it.
A lot of them are in because they have committed quite serious crimes.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? How do you talk to them about their crimes, and what hope do you give them?
We're not usually allowed to ask what they've done, although sometimes I do break that rule and I do ask them. Some of them will just volunteer it. And sometimes people have asked me, when you know they've done a serious thing, because some of them are in there for rape, how do you deal with that? Well, actually, I think I just have to switch off, because I'm not there to think about their crime, I'm there to evangelise. But it's such a privilege to be able to say, look, you've made a mistake, but actually I'm no better because I'm on the outside of the cell. It's not a fact of you've committed a crime physically, I haven't, because what the Bible tells us is if we think, there's a verse that says if you hate somebody, or if you think with hatred about somebody, you're a murderer. So we tell them, I'm no better because I've hated somebody, I've thought bad thought about somebody. So actually being able to tell them, look, you've broken God's law, but then so have I, all of us has. That's why we need Jesus. We do not please God, we're enemies of God, because generally they will think, oh, I'm okay, I've got faith, I've been to church, even though they recognise they're criminals, they've done wrong. They still think they're okay, they don't realise that there is...
Does their religion almost block, because it's a very religious country, Brazil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does the religion perhaps block their understanding of the true message in the Bible?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes, it does. And they hear a half gospel message on the buses. I mean, so many times I've been sat on the bus and somebody gets on, and it happens all the time. The Bible tells us all you need to do is have faith and God will get you through this difficulty, just believe. And it's almost like God is this Father Christmas to give us what we want, and they believe that. So if you ask them, how do you get right with God? Oh, go to church and obey him. Well, actually, that comes after, because nothing we do will please God, because we are filthy inside. And I often use their prison cell just to highlight, because they will draw and they will have pornography on their walls, and I just talk to them and say, look, your prison cell, the walls are filthy. That is what our heart is like. But on the cross, Jesus made a change. His pure and perfect life, and his, like we call it, like a bank account, his bank account, which is absolutely perfect, like a white blank paper, for your dirty life, there's a change, but you have to repent. So it's not a fact of I'm obeying God, because look at you, you're in here, you haven't obeyed God, you've broken his law, so have I. That's why we need Jesus. So it's a privilege to be able to tell them that, and it's a privilege, actually, it's so lovely when some of them actually really do want to change.
Have you had any children come out and live completely differently? Have you had any that have found true faith?
Yeah, we have a good number. It's I can't think of how many, but I can think of one particular boy who started coming to our Provida meetings. He was converted in prison, had discipleship with Alex, my coordinator, and then started coming to our team meetings. And actually, it was great to talk to him, because he was saying how hard it is to live on the outside. So he'd been converted in prison. In one sense, the temptation in there is limited. They do have a difficult time at times. But then coming out, all he knew was a life of crime. But he was doing really, really well. So
is there support for these young people when they come out of prison?
We try and support them as much as we can. It's difficult because we're limited. We don't have that many team members, but yes, we will try and go visit them in their houses, do Bible studies, support their family, because more often than not, they will just go back to their old way of life, unfortunately. But we do try and support as much as we can. A number of these youngsters are from places a long way away, so that's not possible. But where we have WhatsApp and they have WhatsApp, we'll try and keep in contact through that. So as far as we can, yes, we try and support them as much as we can. But
you seem to have so much energy, Paula. It's amazing. Do you think you'll keep going? Is it something that is quite emotionally exhausting? How do you keep going?
Lots of prayer from people back home. That is essential. I don't find it emotionally exhausting. It's more physically tiring because we have 2 hours in each prison, sometimes a little bit longer. It's okay when we're in a room with the kids and we're sat down because it's fine, but when we're stood at the prison cells, because it's so hot as well, after 2 hours I'm flagging, so it's more physical. Thankfully, in one sense, I think God has given me the ability to not go home and dwell on what they've done, so I don't get so emotionally involved these days. When I was working with the street children in the beginning, I got a lot of emotional involvement. But sometimes you have to be really firm with yourself and say, I can't dwell on it, because if I do, I can't do my job. I can't get emotional when I'm with them because I can't do my job. Although sometimes we do get a bit emotional, because particularly with some who, and I've seen this, will just break down in their prison cells. I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to change. I've seen that, and of course, if somebody wants to change, it's just so exciting. And with the discipleship group, we had 4 actually, just before I came home. 4 boys who we were discipling regularly. And the last session I had with them, and my colleague Raphael was there with me, there were 6 of us. So Raphael had 2 boys, I had the other 2 in the same room, and we just prayed together. And it was just so lovely. It wasn't just me and my colleague praying for the boys were praying for us. And just lovely hearing these 2 boys, one who'd murdered his mother, the other who'd murdered a policeman. And the one who'd murdered his mother, actually, I've known him for well over a year, so I've got a really good rapport with him. Just hearing him praying for his fellow inmate and for me because I was coming home the following week. That is just, well, I think I was a little bit like this. They couldn't see that, but that is just a nice emotion. It's just lovely.
And Paul, if you were saying to someone who might be thinking about doing something like you've done, what would you say to them?
Go for it. I have had people saying, don't you get scared? Isn't it dangerous? I really, really feel scared. If you've got a passion for something, go and do it. Don't sit around twiddling your thumbs thinking, should I, shouldn't I? Go and do it.
We only have one life.
Exactly. And we have to make the most of it. And I've just been thinking recently, if we invest in lives, it's never wasted, is it? I mean, I don't know how many of these boys, of these girls will be converted as a result of our work as Pro Vida. Maybe now, maybe, who knows, 20 years down the line. That's with God, that's the Holy Spirit's work. But it is a privilege just to be a part of it. And I get so much satisfaction with being with them. So if anybody's got an interest, go and do it.
Well, it's great, Paula, to think that in a small part of Brazil, one part of northern Brazil, Belém, there's somebody out there making a difference to teenagers' lives.
Yeah.
And it's been brilliant to speak to you this morning. I think it's really inspiring. And hopefully others will get some inspiration from this as well. So thank you very much for talking to us this morning. Thank you.